When we talk about business analysis, it's understanding the business problem. It's investigating it systematically, analyzing it, documenting it, getting the user to agree that this is what they need. The overall goal is to precisely define what needs to be done. And that's a little different than actually the development. The development is the how we're going to solve it. But when we do business analysis, we want to actually define the requirements of the user in terms that are independent of a solution. Okay? We want to truly understand what they need. And by doing that, if it was a business analyst handing it over to the development team, then they would hand over what the user's requirements are, and the development team would use their expertise to implement it in the best way possible. That's the way the industry is moving. If you, as a developer, are doing business analysis, then you have a much better idea of what the user needs, and you don't, I guess, as they say, go off half-cocked, and start developing the solution without truly understanding everything they require. So the purpose of doing it effectively is matching the solution to what their expectations are, minimizing those cost overruns, and leaving maximum room for creativity. Doing analysis up front is almost, if you're a developer doing both of them, remember, business analysis is a role. It's almost like, I'm putting my hat on today to do business analysis, and I'm not going to think too much about the solution. You'll always be thinking about how you're going to implement it. But you try and turn it off and truly understand what the business user needs. And then once you truly understand, you put your hat on as the designer, the developer, and then you build the best solution to satisfy those needs. And the type of people that need this, when we talk about business analysis, it's really anyone who has an interaction with users. Business analysts, as the role is now defined, systems analysts, developers, product managers, anyone developing a solution for a user. I like this slide. So why don't we just go out and do it? Why can't the users tell us what their requirements are? Half the time they don't know. Most of the time, users don't know precisely what they need. I guess thinking about many years ago was kind of nice. We could develop solutions for users to say, this is what you need. And they would walk away and take it. And that was when, all the computers were in glass rooms, raised floors, and a user never even knew what they looked like, except if they watched Star Trek or something. And it still didn't look like it. So, but today, that's not the case. Users interact a lot more with computers. You can't just give them their solution. We need to understand it. And it just, as the slide shows, it just doesn't happen. You need to implement a good process for gathering those requirements. So we talk about gathering or eliciting the requirements. Structuring them means analyzing them and making sure they hold together, they're correct. Documenting them, and then validating them. And so we've got a process that you're seeing up here on the slide, which starts with the first column, is starting with understanding the problem, the vision, the scope, to make sure that the development will be on track. And then it's planning the requirements analysis. Who do I need to talk to? Within this scope, I need to identify the stakeholders, all of them, and these are the people I'll get the information from. It's not necessarily one person. It's always a lot of people. They all bring different perspectives, and it's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. You have to take it all in and analyze it, look for inconsistency. Then elicit, once you've defined who it is, you go ahead and you invoke techniques that will allow you to effectively elicit those requirements. And a lot of you are using them already. Those are interview skills, questionnaires, queries, brainstorming. All of these things are different techniques that help you do it. But understanding who the users are, the makeup of those individuals, you'll be able to apply the techniques that are most appropriate to get the requirements. It's almost like a little Easter egg hunt, looking for that treasure. Okay? And just asking the user what their requirements are will never give you the answer. You've got to look and hunt and probe, ask the right type of questions, open-ended, closed-ended questions, depending on, the type of individual you're dealing with. So you elicit the requirements and you document them. And as you notice, this is a bit of a flow chart here. It is a flow chart. It's an iterative approach as you go through it. There are sign-offs and agreement to the requirements. So by the time you get to the very end, I will not say they're 100%, but they're a heck of a lot better than if you didn't do it with this process. And ultimately, your project will be more successful doing this. There are a lot of other factors, but this will certainly improve the business analysis side. So some of the best practices that are employed are using a diagnostic mindset. When you walk into your doctor, you explain you have a problem. Your doctor doesn't jump to a solution and say, okay, we'll give you a frontal lobotomy right away. They ask questions. Diagnostic mindset means that you have to probe. You'll use those W's, the who, what, when, where, why, how much, how many. You're going to ask questions to better understand what the requirements are and not jump to the solution prematurely. You'll use a process orientation because that's what businesses work on. They're looking at the customer value chain. From the very start to the very end, it's a business process. And so your work will be done within a process orientation. And that will help identify flaws or problems or areas where things can be automated or just improved. Iteration and ongoing user involvement, that was the top-notch item in that Standish report. So you will involve your users, a broad section of the users, on a regular basis to understand the requirements, whether they're regulatory requirements or functional requirements, at different levels. Like I said, you'll have different users. Some will be very aware of cross-department, interactions and collaboration. Others will just know their job. Others will know about regulatory requirements. So you bring it all together, and you have to go through this over and over again until you get it right. Modeling will be used, and this should be familiar to, I would say, all of you in the room. As there are business people that are doing business analysis, and it's not at all familiar to them, but modeling came out of the IT world and systems design. And so you use models. They're pictures, and they say pictures are worth 1,000 words. Not only are these pictures worth 1,000 words, these models help you to validate and understand whether you do have the right requirements or not. Models like the UML family of models, entity relationship diagrams, business interaction models, organization, geographic models. There are a whole bunch of them that you can use to better understand the business needs that sort of make it clearer whether you've got it or you don't have it. Make it easier to verify and validate that with the user. Measurability. Make sure that what they're asking for can be measured, right? I want a fast system. How do you measure that? It has to be user-friendly. Does it shake your hand when you walk up to it? You can't measure that, not in those terms. So make sure that, through good writing skills and practice, that you can write the requirements in a way that can be tested. So ultimately, when it does get through to the testing phase, user acceptance, that we can confirm that we have actually met the requirements. Traceability, that's the other thing. Ensure that, business requirements can be traced through to the implementation and the solution and vice versa, so that we don't get unnecessary stuff included in the end result, things that we're ultimately paying for but don't need, the business doesn't need it, and other things that are omitted. So we have to have traceability matrices, and so we can verify and make sure that that's correct.